Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's Book Creator webinar. This is number 3 in the Book Creator Summer Webinar Series. My name is Monica Burns, and I am very excited to spend some time with you today for this special webinar. Now, I want to make sure that you can hear me, that you can see my screen, and all of that good stuff. So if you head over to the right-hand side of your screen, you should see the Go To Webinar control panel. And if it went away for some reason, there should still be a little orange arrow that you can open it back up with. And you should be able to find a questions part of that Go To Webinar control panel. And if you can go ahead and type in there, just say hello, tell me that you can hear me and see my screen. Maybe tell us where you're from or where you're tuning in from today. So use that questions part of the Go To Webinar control panel. And we'll start off today with some shout outs. Welcome, Anne from Illinois. I'm headed to Illinois tomorrow, actually, to do some professional learning. Welcome, Madalena. Welcome, Shannon from Tennessee, and Margot from Virginia. Hi, Kim and Laura. Hi, Eliza. And of course, apologies if I'm pronouncing anyone's name incorrectly as I'm going down the list today. Welcome, Jonah from Atlanta, and Madeline from South Carolina, Brenda from Virginia. Oh my goodness, so many people with us today. Welcome, Lindsay. I'm in Texas today too, Lindsay. Jennifer from New Jersey. Awesome. Stephanie from Texas. Katrina from Nebraska. Darlene from Canada. Welcome, Marciela from Texas. So glad to have you all here. And so many folks. Denise, welcome, joining us live for this webinar today. So that question box where you put in the questions telling me that you could hear me and see my screen just fine is your go-to place today for letting me know if you have questions. So we'll do that one more time in that question space. If you can just let us know what your role is or the age group of the students that you work with, just so we can give some more shout outs. It's great for all of us to have a feeling to know where you're at and what you're excited about today. So Shannon shared 6th grade ELA, awesome. 5th grade, Bridget from Idaho, awesome. 11th grade, English, 6th grade ELA, 3rd grade ELA, middle school, K-12, 3rd grade. So we are across the spectrum today with folks in both classroom teacher roles, working with self-contained students as technology support, designer and integrator for lessons, instructional coaches. So many people on the call today. So really excited for you to join in and try out everything today with Book Reader. So the focus for tonight's webinar is using Book Reader for reading responses. And as I mentioned, this is number 3 in our Book Creator Summer Webinars series, and I'm so excited to join the folks from Book Creator to be part of their special summer series. Now, the first 2 in the webinar series are available now on the YouTube channel that Book Creator has. So if you go over to YouTube and you search for Book Creator, you'll find their awesome channel, which includes lots of resources, including the first 2 webinars of the series, so you can watch them anytime. And this one we're recording as well, so this will be up on the YouTube channel too. So after you watch it, if you want to pause, slow down, if I go through anything quickly or you want to share it with someone else, you'll have a link to that. And if you go over to the chat area of our GoToWebinar control panel, I'm adding for you right now a special website, app.bookcreator.com, that you'll probably want to open up in another web browser as you're watching today, because I'm hoping that you will play along with me, that you will create some things in Book Creator today. And I'm going to show you this all live out on the Chrome app. So if you're using Chrome, it'll look very similar as you're playing along, but there are some things you could try out on iPad or on a different device, but that app bookcreator.com is where I'll point you to a little bit later in tonight's webinar. So let's go ahead and jump in. As I mentioned, this is number 3 in the summer webinar series, and it is being recorded, so you'll be able to watch it later or share the link with anyone at your school or in your network or tweeting it out, whatever feels good. And if we haven't met before, either in person or virtually, My name is Monica Burns. I'm a former classroom teacher and I'm a book creator ambassador. So I've had the chance to create some resources for book creator and join book creator for webinars like this one. I'm also an ed tech and curriculum consultant. So I travel around offering professional development for educators across the country and a few international spots. So even though I am based in New Jersey, I am in Texas today. If you follow along on Instagram at Class Tech Tips, you might have already known that and seen some of my snaps from my trip here working with teachers in Texas. And I'm also founder of ClassTechTips.com. So excited to be here with you today to focus in on this particular topic of using Book Creator for reading responses. And you might have realized already that I am doing double duty today as host and facilitator. So that's why you can see my slides on the left-hand side. I'm not going full screen, so that way I can look to see if any questions come in and I can show off how Book Creator works on live in action in just a few minutes. So welcome today. We are going to start off with a quick overview of Book Creator. Then we'll talk about some activities for reading literature and informational text. So a variety of reading experiences your students might have at any grade level. We'll make some reading connections across content areas, but I'm pretty sure that as soon as we jump in, you're going to have some connections to science and social studies and math that pop into your mind right away. We'll finish up today with a Q&A. But I'm going to pause periodically when we try out some things live at app.bookcreator.com. So if you do have questions in the middle of the webinar, you are welcome to put them in that question box, the same spot where you gave a shout out to where you're from and what your role is, because I'll peek in that when I send you off to try out a few things during our time together in this webinar. So if you haven't used Book Creator before, it's what I like to call an open-ended creation tool. There's no one way to use it. You can choose your own adventure, chart your own course, and create something fantastic, both you and your students within Book Creator. It is a tool that you can access on iOS, so iPads, as well as Chrome, so like the Chromebook that you see here. And it's something that students and teachers can use to create and publish books like the examples that you see here. So if you do go to app.bookcreator.com or you just head to bookcreator.com, which is their website, you'll be able to find lots of examples of Book Creator books that will for sure get your wheels spinning for all sorts of content area ideas. We're focusing on reading responses today, so it'll be kind of a more of an emphasis on that area, but there's lots of examples for all content areas and all grade levels on Book Creator's website. So when we are talking about Book Creator, remember it's a super simple tool that lets you make interactive pages with voice, text, video, images, and more. So you can combine all of these elements onto each page for a dynamic, interactive reading experience and publishing experience too. So students of all ages can use Book Creator. It's a really dynamic tool, whether your students are sharing a screen, working side by side, or independently to create their books. Now, teachers, when they are on the Chrome web browser, like you see here, can create libraries for students, which is awesome. It means that you as a teacher can log in, create your account, and then create a library where you invite kids to come into the library and they create books that you can look at in real time, kind of like a Google Doc where you can see them typing and then you can peek in and give feedback in real time. So an open-ended creation tool for iOS and Chrome. Students and teachers can create and publish books. Users can make interactive pages with voice, text, video, images, and more. And of course, students of all ages can use Book Creator and teachers can create libraries and invite their students in. So there are lots of ways to use Book Creator in all subject areas and grade levels, whether you're talking digital portfolios, poetry books, step-by-step guides, science reports, learning journals, comics, you name it. And today we are focused on reading. And on Book Creator's blog, there are awesome teacher examples that you can click on. And because they're blog posts, you can read the whole story behind it. Here's one from Mira Campbell, and I put the link to her blog post down at the bottom. But if you go to bookcreator.com, you'll see all the blog posts and be able to find hers right away, where she had students do a book tasting of sorts with Book Creator where they share their favorite books. Then Tara Martin, who you might know from her work with Book Snaps, she's created a blog post for Book Creator that talks all about doing book snaps with Book Creator. So another great resource that you can find on Book Creator's blog. So those links down there are a little bit long, but if you go over to Book Creator's blog, you'll be able to find all of these resources that I'm sharing with you today. So as we talk about reading responses, we know that students read all sorts of things all different during the school day, during different parts of their time in school at different grade levels. So as we weave in and out of different examples of different ways for kids to publish with Book Creator, we'll look at some examples that might feel a little bit more connected to literature like historical fiction or biographies or realistic fiction, and then some that feel more in the informational text category like current events, a blog post, a textbook. But of course, that and more goes on and on as we talk about all the different ways to use Book Reader. So let's jump into a handful of examples. And remember, you're going to have a recording to this. It's going to be available on YouTube. So if you get some great ideas and you want to go back and rewatch, or you want to share with someone else, you'll have access to this recording, and I'll make sure to send it out in an email for you too as soon as it goes up on Book Creator's YouTube channel. So the first one on the list is a daily journal. You might have students create a daily journal with a title, author, summary, or really anything you want them to include. Now, as you can see on the example on the right-hand side, you can even have students include a audio response, so that recording button where they can record their voice. So maybe they set this up like a really traditional type of reading journal, but then there's the multimedia component of using your voice to talk about what you've read. You might have also have students create a character profile using evidence from the text, images they've searched for or snapped, illustrations they've drawn themselves, or even a specific prompt that you have set up for them. So here you see a combination of a student, all right, who had this student example where there's an image on the page, there's a paragraph that describes something, there's even the use of some bold text to provide some emphasis. So lots of things that you can do here when you comes to a character profile. So if you are thinking to yourself that you have really specific expectations for what students should be able to say about something that they've read, you might look for them to pull in text evidence that talks about a particular type of character trait or references a particular structure that an author has included. So really up to you what you decide as your expectations for students who are responding to reading with any of the activities that we talk about today. Now, I love graphic novels and I love using comic books in different ways. So you might have students use the comic features inside of Book Creator to provide space for a retell. Now, what's great about a comic book or the cells and the outline that you see here with comics is that you can have students sequence everything in first, then, next, finally, or they can retell something in order. So comics are really great for structuring a response where sequence is front and center. Now, this also could include an emphasis on setting because we know that comic books need to show where something is taking place in the background, as well as captions that summarize something, or even those big bam, wow, smash, right? All those comic book words that provide emphasis might come in handy for something like this too. Now, in addition to a character profile, you might have students just focus in on a setting description where they pull in a quote from the author that talks about the setting of the book and maybe even snaps or finds a picture that goes along with it too. So this could include a combination of images, quotes, an illustration, or even text description that students use in the form of a paragraph to talk about something too. Now, we all know that we've finished books in the past where we were not happy with an ending. And I know that I have done read alouds for plenty of elementary school students where we get to the end of a book and someone is not happy. They do not like how that story ended. They're frustrated, they're surprised, they're upset. They're all sorts of emotions when they get to a story and they do not like how it ended. And you probably have been in similar situations too. I won't shout out any specific books, but you probably have some that you can think of. So an alternate ending is a great type of reading response because it does require students to have a pretty strong understanding of what they've read. So you might have students write a new ending, or if something wasn't quite tied up and that resolution is missing to a story, or maybe you haven't finished the book yet, so it's not quite an alternate ending, but more of a this is how I think things should end, you can have students write an ending to a story. Now, this could introduce a new character or provide a what if this happened instead. So, lots of ways to structure or scale this kind of activity. Now, you might also have students take a book selfie where they hold up that book they just finished and add it to a page. Now, with Book Creator, like you see here, I created this template where a student can then add a picture to their page using maybe the webcam on their device to snap a picture of them holding their book and placing it right on top of this orange text box that I've created here using the Shapes tool in Book Creator. So this is something where you might have students add audio, add an image. It's really up to you how you would structure something like this. Now, one of the things to think about with all of the projects we've talked about today is that you might have these as something that students make on their own, so creating a book with lots of their own pages, or it might be something where you make a collaborative book where each student just makes one page and then it's brought together in one book for the whole class. So something like our book selfies activity is great for collaborative books because everyone can make just one page and then pull together for all of your favorite books from the month of June or whatever your focus is. Now, if you're working with students where you're thinking about vocabulary, a picture collage is great because it asks kids to search for pictures using keywords. And those keywords might be your vocabulary words. So maybe they go out and snap pictures, or maybe they focus on that search. They curate images. They label it using the text tool. They annotate using the pen tool. So lots of things to consider. Now, if you are having students read more informational text, a question collection might be a great option too. So if students are reading about something like the coral reef, or they've listened to a read aloud about the coral reef, or maybe you played a podcast for them to listen to, then they can record their questions, their lingering things, their wonderings, maybe by recording audio or adding text to a page to chronicle some things they're still curious about that wasn't answered in the text. Now, if you're doing a biography spotlight with students, you might have them pull together some interesting facts, notable events, accomplishments, some quick facts, and pull these all together into a book. Now, it could be that everyone spotlights one different person and then pulls this into a collaborative book, or there might be a few different pages in a biography report that students complete, and interesting facts or notable events is just one or two of the pages. Now, we talked about vocabulary when it comes to a picture collage, but you might have students collect words that have to do with one topic. Then they can put pictures on the page. They can use audio as well as that text list of all of their words and pull that together all in one place on one page in their book. Now, if you are collecting some class favorites, it's great for end of the year or the beginning of the school year, especially if you have some summer reading assignments for students. They can create a page where they pull in a picture, they write a paragraph, maybe they use their voice and record that onto their page. So with all the examples that we've looked at so far, there are just so many things that you can do here and pulling these together. So while I take a peek at some questions that have come in, I'd love for you to use that question box again to share something that's jumped out at you, that's grabbed your attention so far, or an idea that you have based on what has been shared so far. And then I'll give some shout outs and take a peek at some questions that have come through. So Shannon asked about collaborative ebooks. We actually have a whole webinar on real-time collaboration coming up soon. But when it comes to creating collaborative books, you have every student inside of that teacher library I talked about, and then they each make one page, and you as the teacher then can combine pages from everyone's book and pull it together in one new book. Now, Rini asked about sharing photos. So if students want to use photos, you'll see me take you out to that live in just a moment. They can search through the Google image search to find photos, or if they have photos that are saved to a drive, which could be a shared drive folder, then they can add those too. So if students are collaborating and pulling all the pages together, it's usually easiest if they just make the one page and then have that in its own book, and then you can combine it together. If you do want to make sure all of your sources are cited, you can add a caption to go along with any pictures that you found. And when you do a Google image search right from within Book Reader, it'll tell you where that picture is coming from. So you can include citation for sources too. I'll also mention to you in a little bit as we go through some ways that students can join the library and start a new book right away. Before we go out and talk about what this looks like online, so before we head over to app.bookcreator.com, and you might be there already, let's make some cross-curricular connections. Now, you might have students in a science classroom read a biography and respond, explore a current events article about a science topic and respond, or even start a interactive textbook with information that they've learned. In a social studies classroom, you might have students respond to a passage, retell a moment in history, which is lots of fun if it's done in the comic book version too, or even read a current events article related to a social studies topic and write a response or pull out vocabulary. So when it comes to using Book Creator for reading responses, there are just so many ways to do this. You might pull in some of the responses that we've looked at so far for daily responses. You might do some of these activities as part of weekly updates or goal setting. You might have students out in Book Creator to create monthly reflections or take a combination of these activities and turn them into digital portfolios for students too. So much that you can do. What we're going to do now is go out live and take a look at Book Creator together. So I am going to encourage you to try making some pages and adding some things to your pages during the webinar today. So you are welcome to sit back and watch, but I'd love for you to get hands-on and try this out at the same time too. So what you'll do is you'll head over today to app.bookcreator.com. I usually do this in my Chrome browser, even though I'm on my MacBook. So when you go to app.bookcreator.com, you'll see the prompt for students to sign in first. Students can sign in with Google, Office 365, with Clever, or you can even create a QR code for students, which makes this a great option for your younger kiddos that might not have an email address that they use. Even though you are going to go to app.bookcreator.com, you don't want the student sign in. You want to press this gray button and open up the teacher sign in. So you have the choice to sign in with Google or Office 365 or email. If you already have a Google or Office 365 account that you use for school, I recommend that you use one of those because it's just one less password for you to think of, but you can sign in with email too. It's totally up to you. So remember, you'll want to go to app.bookreader.com, and I put the link in the chat box, which is at the very bottom of the GoToWebinar control panel. So if you click on that, it should open it up in a new window for you too. When you do get over to app.bookcreator.com and you're ready to create a new book, you're going to tap on this gold yellowy button, New Book, and it's going to give you the option to create a new book. Today, I'm going to show you this in just plain old landscape mode because it fills up my screen and I can fit a lot on there, which is great for a demo like today. But you might decide you want another shape, or you might jump right into comics. Even though we're not going to focus on comics today, that's an option for you. Then you'll get to our page that starts like this, and then you'll see a plus sign, which will let you start adding things to your page. Once you have your page open, you can use the plus sign to access the text tool. That will let you put in a title for your book and change up the text so that it looks perfect. So remember, you're going to app.bookcreator.com, signing in as a teacher, and we're going to create a new book together. So if you want to participate and create a reading journal with us today, I'm going to show you again how you can create a title page and then customize the text. So I'm right here in my Book Creator page. So I'm at app.bookcreator.com, and you can see I've already made a reading journal and I'm going to make a new one today. So I'm going to tap on the new book button, and here are my choices. I'm going to hit landscape, and then I have my blank page. I'm going to tap on the plus sign. I'm going to go to my text tool because I'm going to start off writing a title. And so I'm just going to do my reading journal. I'm not going to worry about font or colors yet. I'm just going to get that text on the page. When something is highlighted in blue, right, I click on it, it's blue, and now I go to the eye inspector button. I can make this a little bit larger. I can change the color. I can stretch it out if I want to. I can change the font and make it absolutely perfect however I want it to look for my reading journal, right? It's up to me what I want it to look like here. So I'd love now for you to try out creating your own title page, maybe customize the text. You can choose your own colors and fonts if you want to. And as you work on this, I'm going to take a peek and see what other questions have come through. So a question came through about the pictures that I mentioned. So yep, if you're going to add pictures and you want students to use the pictures you've picked out for them, your best bet is going to be to create a folder like in Google Drive and then share that folder with your students so that it's now in their drive. Because when we get to the photo adding piece, you'll see that adding photos from Google Drive is an option. So that's something to think about as well. So you just have that as an option if that feels good too. So any other questions, you can pop them into the question box. Otherwise, we're heading over now to app.bookcreator.com so you can add in your text, and I'll give you a moment to add on to the title, your title page. Okay, I saw a question come in about the subscriptions for students. Yep, so the free version, you can do one library with 40 books. You can invite all your kids in and they can make 40 books. But if you want to do more than 40 books as a teacher, you would need the full subscription or an upgraded subscription in order to do that. But what we're talking about today, you can do totally for free, making one teacher library, inviting your kiddos in, and then having them create up to 40 books in total for the group of kids that you're working with. So if you have everyone in your class of, say, 30 kids making one reading journal, they can jump in every day over the course of the school year and add to that reading journal. So I'm going to let you keep adding in and fixing with your text box there, and let's keep going for our next step for our reading journal. Next up is to import media or add an image to your page. So we'll hit that same plus button again and choose import. Then we have a couple options. This could be an image search or adding a file or adding a drive, right? So a couple different options. I'm going to click on the Google Images and search for book, and it will show me a whole bunch of pictures of books, and then I can click on one and add them to my page. So you can see here I've added a picture, excuse me, to my page by following those steps. So let's go out and see it live. I'm going to go ahead now and click the plus sign. I'm going to choose import. Now I can search for Google Images, or here's where you'd get them if they were on your drive. So you connect to your drive for that shared folder, or files, we'll grab it from your computer. I'm going to go for images and I'm going to choose book. It's going to show me all different pictures that I can pick and choose from. And you'll see it shows where it comes from so that you can give credit to it too. So I'm going to choose this one, add select, and it's going to add this book to my page. I can move it around. I can use the green button to spin it and place it just right and put it right there on my page. So I hit the plus sign, import, search for an image, and select and add it to my page. Now go ahead, if you haven't already, and search for a cover image and add that image to your page. And while you do that, I will take a peek and check out any other questions that came through. Okay, a question came in about the format looking the same on iPads or just Chrome. So the buttons that we talk about and take a look at together today are going to look very similar to what you see on Chrome. So you'll have that as an option that should look pretty familiar when you're out there and on the iPad. So yep, if your K2 kiddos are using iPads, they'll have the similar plus sign with those added features of all the things they can add to their page. All right, so if you haven't added an image already, you can search for a cover image and add that to your page now. Let's keep going and try out some things together. If you want to use the pen tool and annotate and add something to your page, you can press the plus sign and hit the pen tool. This will then allow you to choose different colors, to choose different widths of the pen and add it to your page. So here I drew an arrow and added it right here. Let's take a look at what this looks like live. So I can go to my plus sign and now hit the pen tool. And I have all these different colors to choose from. I'll choose orange here. I can choose different widths here. I could go really big or really fine. Maybe I'll choose just the middle for today. And then I can do anything that I want here. I might just do a squiggly line here, or if I don't love it, I can erase part of it. Either way, I can draw and then hit done. Once I have my line, if I wanted this to just be a squiggly underneath my title, I can squish it down so that it fits right underneath my title and put it right there. If I decide that it's not my favorite, I can click on it, highlight it in blue, hit the inspector button, and I can delete it or even link this to something else or add some alt text if I wanted to. So you have a bunch of options when using the pen tool. In the reading classroom, this pen tool is also great for annotations. So if you are having students read a text and you want them to highlight something or point to something, this is another great option, and they can always move it around and point to the exact page or exact spot if they want to as well. So if you haven't tried it already, go ahead out to that pen tool and use it to draw on your page. As you do that, I'll take a peek and see if there are any other questions. Remember, you can change colors, you can change the pen width. There's a lot of things you can pick and choose from as you take a peek at this too. Awesome. So if you haven't already, maybe you do a squiggly line or an arrow like me. Totally up to you. Awesome. Okay, let's keep moving and show off some of these other features for your reading journal. So once you've added these pieces to your page, you may want to try recording your voice. So you can record your voice and add it to a page in a reading journal. This is great for differentiation when kids are really excited about something and they might be a little hung up to write their sentences. You can use a combination of audio and text on the page. So we hit the same plus sign, choose the record button, and then it allows us to talk and it records our voice. Then it will turn that recording into a little button that's interactive on your page. So let's try it out here on Book Creators, my cover page here. So I'm going to hit my plus sign. Then I'm going to go to record. It might ask you if you haven't used Book Creator before, is it okay to use the microphone? So you might see that little message pop up. So give your kiddos a heads up on that too. And now I'm going to hit start recording. Here is my summer reading journal. I cannot wait for you to check it out. It captures my voice, it uses the recording, and then I can put it right here on my page. If I know maybe I'm making a book that a younger audience is going to look at, I can make it really big so they're more inclined to tap on it. Or if it's something that's just more of a support that not everyone's going to want, I can put it right in the upper corner. Totally up to you. So let's go ahead and try it. Record your voice, maybe give a quick introduction on your reading journal, just like I did. And as you do that, I'm going to take a peek and see if there's any other questions coming through. Of course, you can use that question box to share something you're excited about too, or an aha moment you've had during the webinar. So it's up to you if you'd like to share in there as well. So a question came in about downloading books that kids make to a device. I'll show you the share options before we finish up today. That way you'll see some of the different options that you have for that too. Yep, I love that too, Jennifer. Jennifer shared that she loves that you can hyperlink the different things you add to the page, whether it's a picture, there's just so many options. So if you haven't already, go ahead and record your voice. Give that quick introduction on your page. Next step for us to try is adding shapes. Now, adding shapes might seem like something silly or extra or not super important, but it is a great way to have kids organize information, to make text bubbles, to create a graphic organizer, so many things they can do. You can have students hit the plus sign, and instead of media, now they're going to click shapes. And when they click shapes, they can choose that shape that they want, any of those, add it to their page and change the color, and even layer it so it goes behind other things on their page. So totally up to you how they would use this tool. So I'm going to try it out with you here. I'm going to hit the plus sign, hit shapes. I'm going to choose this rectangle, this roundy rectangle. I can make it even more roundy if I want to. I'm going to stretch it out so it goes behind my title. I'm going to hit the eye inspector button since it's highlighted in blue and choose a color, maybe yellow for today. And then I can go to move to the front or the back, and it'll go behind everything else so that I won't have to worry about whether or not it's clear or I can read it. So remember, I hit the plus sign, I toggle from media to shapes, add my shape, and then I can move it around and change up the color, totally up to you. So if you haven't already, try adding a shape. It's a great way to help organize information on your page. And thanks, Laura, for the shout out about the video recording picture feature. Yep, that's another option too. You can have the plus sign, use the camera to record video and add it on the fly as well. Awesome. So go ahead and hit that plus sign, add a shape, change up the color, move it around, get a feel for what you can do right there with this as well. So as you're playing with all of these features, I want to share a couple things for you to consider. When you are ready and finished with your book, you're of course going to want to share that book so that everyone can see it. So watch what I do to go ahead and share the book that I've made. This should answer a couple questions that came through earlier in the GoToWebinar control panel. So after I'm finished with my book, right now I'm here in edit mode, I go back to my library, and this is where my book is going to live. I can go down here to the share button, and this allows me to publish it online, which means I'm going to get a link to the book so it's published online that anyone can see it. I can download it as an ebook, so you can see it's downloading right now as an EPUB file to my computer. Or I can print it, which is going to prompt you and open up a new window with the PDF version. Mine is only one page, so you see it just here. It's going to get rid of that audio recording, so you won't see it anymore. And so nothing will be clickable because it's just ready to print on paper. So those are the big options here when it comes to sharing. A couple questions came in about collaboration. So if you have a bunch of kids in your library, you can combine their books by using this button. So it's going to show you all the books in this library. This library is mine, so it's all my books. But you can click on all the books you want to combine. So it would show one from all of your kids would show here. You could click on all of those ones you want to combine and then pull all the pages together. What's nice about that is once you get into your new book with all the pieces that you pulled together and you click pages, You'll see all the students' pages, so you can rearrange them or move them in different order to get everything looking just right in your collaborative book. So something to think about if you're excited about sharing as well. So we're going to jump into kind of our final piece in our Q&A. So this is a great time for you to plug in any lingering questions you still have into that question box to make sure we get to them together tonight. So before we finish up, I do want you to understand how to set up and share a library with your students. You create a library, you find the invite code, and then you share that library with students. So let's take a look at how that works. I'm coming back here to my library, but I'm actually going to click this button and it takes you out to all of my libraries. I have a whole bunch because I use this in lots of different ways with lots of different people. Just so you know, because I'll mention it in a moment, the resources button up here will take you to lots of free books and lots of resources, including those blog posts that I mentioned when we first started. But for a library, you can create a library like this one that I've used with different groups before. I can open my library and you can see that I've shared this book with 6 people. If I want to invite kids to my library, I create a library and then it shows me the invite code for other people to join in to the library. I can click the button here. I can add in anyone that I want and find the invite code to bring in some other people too. So if I have a library full of things that I want other people to participate in, I can open up my library, grab the invite code, and anyone who has that code can join in to my library. Of course, I change the codes after I show them to big groups like this so no one can jump into it, but that's how you'll find the code. You can see here that I can add a co-teacher if I wanted to, or invite others to join in. So when you share that code, right, I can hit invite others to join in and so they have it. If I'm working with younger kiddos, I can click on me here, get QR code logins, and get special QR codes that will let kids join into that library. So totally up to you how you decide to structure this with your group of students. A few more things before we jump into our Q&A. If you are interested in getting some extra resources, the folks at Book Creator put together a monthly newsletter. You can access it from their blog. So if you head over to bookcreator.com, you can access the newsletter right there. It has all sorts of lesson ideas and updates and challenges that you'll definitely want to explore. In addition to the newsletter, there's also a support page, a Facebook group, and Twitter chats that you may want to check out too. If you go to Facebook and you search for Book Creator Teachers at your search bar at the top, you'll find a group of book creator teachers. And even if you don't want to share on Facebook or post on Facebook, it's a great group to join because you'll see lots of other people's ideas. You can check out the discussion and get some ideas for your own group of students. The Twitter chats that take place every month also involve a collaborative book creation where everyone on the chat makes a book together, kind of like how we all made our own books. In this case, you'd be working together to do it. Now, you saw me click on the resources tab on Book Creator's teacher dashboard. All of these books are there for you, including one I put together, which includes some of the ideas from today called 15 Ways to Use Book Creator for Reading Responses. So in addition to this webinar recording, or if you're live today, you might check out the YouTube recording later on. You'll also find this book with lots of extras in there too. So let's take a peek and see what other questions have come in. So if other people join the library, so if you invite people in, that includes your 40 books. So when you invite kids into the library and they make a book, that book is what counts. So it's not the number of users in the library, it's the number of books in the library that will count for something like your 40 books for the free version. A question came in about the published books and who can see them. So these books are published online with a link. So it's a link. So anyone who has the link can see it. So I would always treat it as public. So if you have permission to post your student work online, then you're good to go with a link. Because remember, if you don't have permission, but you only share the link with families, they can then share it with anyone, right? right? So even someone who has the best intentions might post it in a social space, might put it on Facebook to share it out, thinking that other families will be excited to see it, but you want to make sure that you don't publish anything online unless you have full permission from families, and usually a district or a school will set up what it looks like to have a permission slip and all the things that go along with that too. So just something to be mindful of for today. Now we just have one more minute left. So if you have some more questions, you can put it into the question box. And if I don't get to it by the time we finish up, you can always shoot me an email or send a note to the folks at Book Creator and they can help you with this too. Don't forget that this is just number 3 in a summer full of free webinars. The next one up will be in July. So there are 3 for the month of June. There's 3 for the month of July. And the next one will take place on July 10th. It's going to include real-time collaboration with Book Creator. So if you want to dive deeper into collaboration, I really hope you'll join us for that webinar. Everyone's going to log in and make a book together, and it's going to be lots of fun. I just cannot wait for that webinar. So thank you everyone for joining today. Remember, you can find the folks at Book Creator at Book Creator app on social or bookcreator.com. You can find me at Class Tech Tips on all of the social media platforms. So if you are creating books with your students this year, make sure to tag both of us so we can give it some love and share all the different things that you are excited about, because we're excited about them too. Have a wonderful rest of your day and hope to see you on future webinars this summer.